Yowi is one of several names for an Australian folklore entity that is reputed to live in the outback. The creature has its roots in Aboriginal oral history. In parts of Queensland they are known as Quinkin, or as a type of Quinkin, and as Jugabina in parts of New South Wales they are called Gindaring, Jurawara, Mingwen, Putikan, Dulaga, and Gulagal. Other names include Yoroma, Nukuna, Woyi, Panklangu, Jimbra, and Jangra. Yowi type creatures are common in Aboriginal Australian legends, particularly in the eastern Australian states. The yowi is usually described as a hairy and ape-like creature standing upright at between 2.1 meters 6 feet 11 in and 3.6 meters 12 feet. The yowi's feet are described as much larger than a human's, but alleged yowi tracks are inconsistent in shape and toe number, and the descriptions of yowi foot and footprints provided by yowi witnesses are even more varied than those of Bigfoot. The yowi's nose is described as wide and flat. Behaviorally, some report the yowi as timid or shy. Others describe the yowi as sometimes violent or aggressive. The origin of the name yowi to describe unidentified Australian hominids is unclear. The term was in use in 1875 among the Kamilaroi people and documented in Rev. William Ridley's Kamilaroi and Other Australian Languages, page 138. Yowi is a spirit that roams over the earth at night. Some modern writers suggested that it arose through Aboriginal legends of the Yahoo. Robert Holden recounts several stories that support this from the 19th century, including this European account from 1842. The natives of Australia believe in the Yahoo, this being they describe as resembling a man of nearly the same height, with long white hair hanging down from the head over the features. The arms as extraordinarily long, furnished at the extremities with great talons, and the feet turned backwards, so that on flying from man, the imprint of the foot appears as if the being had traveled in the opposite direction. Altogether, they describe it as a hideous monster of an unearthly character and ape-like appearance. 12. Another story about the name, collected from an Aboriginal source, suggests that the creature is a part of the Dreamtime. Old Bungaree, a Guinea Aboriginal, said at one time there were tribes of them Yahoos and they were the original inhabitants of the country. He said they were the old race of blacks. The Yahoos and the blacks used to fight and the blacks beat them most of the time, but the Yahoo always made away from the blacks, being a faster runner, mostly 13. On the other hand, Jonathan Swift's Yahoos from Gulliver's Travels and European traditions of hairy wild men are also cited as a possible source. 14. Furthermore, great public excitement was aroused in Britain in the early 1800s with the first arrivals of captive orangutan for display. Creature he saw had been over 3 meters tall. 33. A persistent story is that of the Mulgoe yowi, which was last reported as having been seen in 2001. 34. In March 2014, 2 yowi searchers claimed to have filmed the yowi in South Queensland using an infrared tree camera, collected fur samples and found large footprints. 35. Later that year, a Gympie man told media he had encountered yowis on several occasions, including conversing with and teaching some English to a very large male yowi in the bush northeast of Gympie. 36. And several people in Port Douglas claimed to have seen yowis near Mowbray and at the Rocky Point Range. 37. Prominent yowi hunters. Edit. Rex Gilroy. Since the mid-1970s, paranormal enthusiast Rex Gilroy, a self-employed cryptozoologist, has attempted to popularize the yowi. 38. 39. 40. Gilroy claims to have collected over 3,000 reports of them and proposed that they comprise a relict population of extinct ape or Homo species. 41. 42. Rex Gilroy believes that the yowi is related to the North American Bigfoot. 43. Along with his partner Heather Gilroy, Gilroy has spent 50 years amassing his yowi collection. 44. Tim the Yowi Man, a published author who claims to have seen a yowi in the Brindabella Ranges in 1994. 25. 45. Since then, Tim the Yowi Man has investigated yowi sightings and other paranormal phenomena. 46. He also writes a regular column in Australian newspapers, the Canberra Times and the Sydney Morning Herald. In 2004, Tim the Yowi Man won a legal case against Cadbury, a popular British confectionery company. 47. Cadbury had claimed that his moniker was too similar to their range of yowi confectionery. 48. Gary Opit, ABC local radio wildlife programmer and environmental scientist. Australian historian Graham Joyner maintains the yowi has never existed. He points out that it was unknown before 1975, and that it originated in a misunderstanding. Joyner's interest has been in the 19th century phenomenon known as the Yahoo, also called the hairy man, Australian ape, or Australian gorilla, A shadowy creature then seen as an undiscovered marsupial, but one that was presumably extinct by the early 20th century. There is some evidence for its former existence. Joyner 2008, p. 109. His 1977 book The Hairy Man of Southeastern Australia 2 is a collection of documents about the Yahoo. It was based on research begun in 1970 and summarized in a paper dated July 1973. Notes on the Hairy Man, Wild Man or Yahoo, National Library of Australia, Miss 3889, at which time the Yahoo had long been forgotten and nothing had been heard of the alleged Yowi. He has since explained that the book was published to promote the former and to counter, not to endorse, the then new and extraordinary claims about the latter. Joyner 2008, p. 10. According to Joyner, the notion of the Yowi arose following a review in a Sydney newspaper of John Napier's 1972 book Bigfoot, The Yeti and Sasquatch in Myth and Reality, Jonathan Cape, London. In response, the cryptozoologist and ufologist Rex Gilroy, citing an Aboriginal figure from Western and Central Australia called the Jangra, made the astonishing claim that Australia was home to its own abominable snowman. However, the image of the enormous primate that Gilroy eventually presented to the Australian public in May 1975 as the Yowi, while overtly modeled on exotic forms like the Yeti, was apparently inspired by muddled recollections from the newspaper's readers of much earlier stories about the Yahoo. Joyner 2008, pp. 5-8. On this estimation, only the Yahoo has, or more accurately had, a basis in reality.